So welcome back to the SWAU's official channel. I'm Bryan, your host, and this is a conversation with the stars, and we've got a great star. She is going to be set to be starring in Surviving My Father, the Rachel Jeff story on Lifetime. It's a wonderful Kaitlyn Bernard. Kaitlyn, welcome to the show, my love.
Thank you so much for having me.
And do you know what? This film is one of those stories that I think that it's very hard to watch. It really is. But it's so important that it gets out there, that people hear these incredible journeys that people go on. So we are going to explore that in a moment. But welcome to the show. And before we dig deep into this film, how are you? Where are you calling in from? What's the weather like?
Well, I'm currently in Victoria, British Columbia. It's pretty rainy here. I have to say it's been a nice last couple of days, but I think the rain is starting to take a toll. So yeah, it's been a little gray today.
Oh, bless you, bless you. And you've been, acting since childhood, starting with a Barbie commercial. So do you remember that moment when you thought, do you know what, this career is for me, this performing life?
I can't pinpoint an exact time. Talking to a lot of other actors, I feel like they're like, oh, when I watched this show, I knew I wanted to be an actor. And I don't really have one of those, to be completely honest with you. I don't remember my life without acting. I started in musical theater when I was 3 or 4. And then, booked my first Barbie commercial when I was 7. And then just from there, I started doing short films when I was, I guess, 12, and then it just grew organically. So I don't really have one of those like moments where I was like, this is what I want to do, but it's always been a part of my life. And I couldn't imagine my life without it.
And you've had such an incredible career so far, and we are going to touch on a few bits. But before we do, we're going to talk about Surviving My Father, which is the Rachel Jeff story. And I've got to say, if acting was a sport, this film is the Olympics, because honestly, the acting in this is incredible. And, I urge everyone to watch this film. So the new Lifetime project is obviously based on Rachel Jeff's memoir. So how did this come about for you?
Yeah, so I started with an audition, and then I had found out that I booked it a couple of days later and was going to fly into Kelowna to film it. And so it happened very fast. And, I had heard of Warren Jeffs on the news being on the FBI's most wanted list, but I had never researched any further. And then in booking the role and reading Rachel's memoir and the script and watching all of her interviews, I was absolutely floored by the amount of abuse and trauma and everything that she had gone through during her time in the FLDS. And, I really want to stress, I can't stress this enough. This story isn't a story about, it is a story about abuse and emotional manipulation, but it's also about survival. And I think that that's the most important thing that I want people to get out of it, is the resilience and strength that Rachel found within herself to leave virtually everything that she's known and start a life. And that takes so much courage. So it was an honor to portray her and play her in this.
And we're definitely going to talk about the resilience and what an incredible story it is. But you're right, people think that it's about the abuse, but it's about, what came from that abuse and how a person persevered, and the ending is just wonderful, which we will touch on. When you read the script, when you had the script, were you worried at all from an actor's point of view? Because sometimes you can bite off a bit too much, but were you ready for that challenge to take on the role of Rachel?
I definitely felt like I was ready. It's so, when you're playing a person who is a real person who has gone through all this stuff, you really want to honor their story and you tell it right, So I was definitely nervous. This is the first time I've ever portrayed a real life person who has gone through all this. So I think it was very nerve wracking at first, but I'm always up for challenging roles. And I love the emotional kind of depth and the journey and the arc that this character goes on. So I would say, yeah, I was ready for it, but it was still a big undertaking because I was playing Rachel. So
I
yeah.
mean, people don't really realize that, actors, emotionally, they go through a lot, for their role. There's so many method actors out there like Heath Ledger, to name one. I mean, how did you emotionally prepare for this role? Because it must have taken a lot out of you.
The days were very long and draining on set for sure. And I think prior to filming, whenever I film a really emotional, demanding role, I really make sure that I take care of myself because it can be a lot on your mental health. And so before filming, doing all the research and listening to Rachel, I got the opportunity to actually talk to Rachel on Zoom with our director and our producer. I watching documentaries about all of the stuff that these women had to endure in the FLDS, and just really like putting myself as much as I possibly could into that kind of mind frame. And once you put like the costumes on and you're like in these big fields on these like ranch houses, you feel like you're in it. And it was weird because on my days off I felt like I needed to like wear a dress around and like have the hair. So yeah, it was really it was like a process for sure. And I really like doing roles where I can kind of get into character that way versus just kind of wearing like what I normally wear. So it was definitely a process. That's kind of, yeah. And then I always after, like whenever I film something, I try and, go on a little trip. And so I went to Nelson, BC, with my partner, and yeah, that was kind of like the unwinding of it and taking a deep breath.
I mean, you answered my next question, which was, did you manage to meet or speak with Rachel, to prepare for this role? I mean, when you did speak with her, what was that like? And was there a piece of advice that she gave you that stuck with you throughout the production?
Yeah, it was super, super emotional. I like remember sitting next to Ali, our director, and we were all super nervous because, like we're actually meeting her in person, or not in person, but over Zoom. And, you see all these interviews of her, and she's just such a kind, gentle soul. And even when she talks about her trauma and her abuse, she has this quiet strength to her, which is something that I really wanted to honor in the performance. One thing that she said, we asked her if there was anything in particular that she wanted us to portray in the film. And she said, no, I know that you guys are going to do an amazing job, and I'm just going to pray for you. And that kind of stuck with me throughout the entire productions. Yeah.
That must have been so surreal, speaking to the person that you're going to be portraying, and how much responsibility that you had on your shoulders to deliver that performance, true to her as a real person. I mean, obviously this film, it's got a lot of dark themes like manipulation, control, and escape. Was there a particular scene that was more difficult to film than others, and why?
I think the scene where Rachel tells her husband about the abuse was definitely, because that's one of the turning points for the character, was definitely really challenging because she hasn't spoken out about it. She tried with her mom, but that didn't go well, and she hasn't told anyone. And so I think that was probably one of the more difficult ones because, you see the flashback at the beginning of the movie and then further along in the movie, and it's just she's been silenced for so long, and then she finally speaks out about it, and unfortunately doesn't go the way that she hoped it would. But I think that part, as well as when she loses her children. I mean, I don't have any children, but I just couldn't imagine, as if I was a mother, like losing my children for months and months and months, and then them being threatened to be taken away again. Yeah, I mean, I'm like thinking, I'm like, all of the scenes were very emotional and were a lot. Every single day I was crying and doing some kind of emotional scene. But yeah.
I mean, there's so many scenes that are so difficult to watch. It reminded me a lot of a series that my wife got me to watch, which was The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Which that show is very difficult to watch in certain places, but I think that the world has a place for those sort of scenes, because we need to again highlight, what has happened, because it may help someone in the future, reach out, become stronger, know that there's other ways to live, your life. I mean, you talk about mental health earlier on, and something I've always wondered, where on set, when you're filming these difficult scenes, when they shout cut, what is the mood like on set? Is it a case of, that mood is still there, or do you do something on set to sort of break away from that character to give yourself a bit of a, respite until, you shoot again?
I mean, it depends on the scene. It really, for me, it really varies. I know all actors have their different processes. And when I'm in a scene and in the middle of a scene, I don't really like to kind of break away from it. I find it hard to just, go to Crafty and, grab a snack, when I'm in the thick of it. So I don't really like breaking character. I'll kind of just sit with my AirPods in, listening to music, or just kind of have my own space, walking around, just looking at, the locations are absolutely beautiful where we were filming. So just walking around. But I know that, some actors are able to kind of just go from thing to thing, but I very much like to sit in it, which can be really exhausting, and is maybe something that I should work on during my process. But, I have to say, like, when it comes to filming such emotionally demanding scenes, the cast and crew really make or break that environment. And I think the crew had such an awareness to the sensitivity of the content. And so it was really amazing working on this particular set, because I felt like I wasn't like being asked like, oh, if I wanted to like have a sandwich for lunch, they were just very, very aware and in tune of what the actors needed, which I really, really appreciated, which is also kind of rare to find on a set, from my previous experiences.
And I've got to give a shout out to the young girl that plays the younger you on screen as well, because being a dad of a daughter similar age to that girl, I mean, kudos to her. I mean, what a performer to actually deal with that sort of content as well, and not be scarred for life. I mean, she's such a great actress, and I don't know her name. I can't find her name anywhere.
Her name's Amara, and she's a wonderful, wonderful actress. And, with Amara, whenever she was doing the more emotional scenes, she'd come up and we'd be playing card games and stuff, because obviously we're not in any of the same scenes, because she's the younger version of Rachel. But she did an incredible job, and I think she's going to be going places.
I think you both are, for sure. And you know what, playing this character, during the time that you're filming this film, I mean, did you take away anything that taught you something for yourself? Because this is a woman that obviously went through so much, trauma, but then came out the other end, I would like to say, a stronger person, a more resilient person, and good for her. I mean, but for you as a performer, did you learn anything on a personal level doing this role?
Well, I think, like, when it comes to what I learned, I mean, and what I hope that the audience learns as a whole is, well, Rachel's story is super unique. There are so many universal themes of emotional abuse, manipulation, but also the strength and courage that it took her to leave such a terrible situation, and that was all she really knew. So I guess I learned a lot in playing her. Just the courage and resilience that she has as a person and in the story was really big for me and super inspiring. And even just like watching her interviews, I learned so much. And also just about the underbelly of polygamous sex and everything that's kind of going on behind the scenes, because I had no clue. And I hope that the audience also sees this light that's kind of being shed on these organizations.
I mean, I was going to ask you, what would you like audiences to take away, apart from, obviously the shock and awe of the story, but you've put it right there in the way of the courage and the resilience. And it's such a story of empowerment. And I think that it's going to help, so many people. It really is. I mean, you've worked with so many great casts over the years. And in this film, you act opposite, I would say, one of the best actors we have got on our screens, which is Michael Eklund, which I'll put a picture. Look at that stunning man there. He looks slightly different in the film, and he does such a good job in playing Warren. What was he like to work with, and what was it like, sharing scenes with him of someone of that sort of stature?
I mean, I had actually worked on a film with Michael back in, I want to say 2017. We didn't have any scenes together in that one. So I knew of him, and obviously had seen a lot of stuff that he's been in. And, with the type of role, him playing Warren Jeffs, I mean, it's such a horrifying kind of character to play. And he was terrifying on screen, but off screen, he was extremely professional and kind, and we really kind of bonded during the film. We still message back and forth once in a while, and he was an incredible actor to work with, and so inspiring seeing his performance and him completely transform. I mean, when you see him in the movie, he has this wig on, and he looks completely different than how he actually does in person and in real life. So it was really cool to see an actor undergo that transformation, and someone who's so kind and professional just turn into this horrific person.
I mean, your scenes again, is quite intense. So how did it work? Was it a case of he would walk onto set, and not? I know a lot of actors, they will walk onto set depending on what part they're playing, and not talk to the rest of the cast because they want to keep in that mind frame and start shooting. I mean, what was he like? I mean, was he just like normal Michael, then all of a sudden he went into character, or did you both have sort of a process with each other to get that scene started?
I would say he was normal Michael, like you said, and we kind of just joked around in the green room. And then when we were actually filming our scenes, I think Michael and I are very similar in the way that we kind of just like to separate from the chaos of what's going on when we're actually in the thick of it. And we're just kind of doing our own thing. We'll talk about the scene maybe, but yeah, he definitely wasn't one of those people that just goes to set and they're fully in character and aren't interacting with anyone. And yeah, but he wasn't like that at all. So,
so he wasn't like Thomas Jane then, because I heard that you were saying that Thomas Jane kept in character the entire time for 1922.
Yes, he did, which was very cool to see, because I had never worked with an actor that was fully method in that way. He had the accent. He was always smoking cigars, walking around bare feet. It was a really, really cool experience looking back on it. But no,
I've got actually a funny story about Thomas. I interviewed him a few years ago, and he answered the Zoom call with literally, it looked like he didn't have any clothes on and he was just smoking a pipe. And literally, probably about 8 minutes into the interview, he stopped and he went, "Is this going to be on camera?" And I was like, "Nope, not anymore."
Nope.
But such a class act, he really is. I mean, many fans will remember, your role in The Healer opposite Jonathan Pryce. And looking back, how do you think your craft has evolved from those days to now in this movie?
Oh, that's a really good question. When I shot The Healer, I was 15, I believe, or 14 maybe. And so I feel like with acting or any kind of art form or craft, it's just something that continually evolves the more that you work at it. And I'm always one of those people that's all for training and working with different coaches and really sharpening my my toolkit. So I feel, I definitely feel like, yeah, it's just definitely evolved just based on the experiences that I've gone through in life too. I think that like acting is one of those things where the more things that you kind of experience as you get older, you can use those in your performances. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, you've won many awards and critical recognition. Does that kind of feedback change the way you approach future roles?
No, I don't think so. I don't really think about that kind of stuff. Each role is so unique and different, and obviously it's nice to have that kind of recognition. But when it comes to like when I get a script and I'm about to film something, I'm not really thinking about any of that. It's just focusing on telling a different story in the best way I possibly can.
And what would you say is your most transformative role to date? And is Rachel Jeffs at the top of that list now?
I would probably say that this is definitely, yeah, one of my most transformative roles, and I'm really excited for everyone to see it, and I'm excited for Rachel to see it, and I hope she's happy with the final product.
Oh, wow. And have you seen the whole movie yet?
I haven't. No, I haven't. I've seen clips. I haven't seen the whole movie.
What?
Yeah.
That is terrible. That is terrible. You need to watch it. You need to watch it. Because you know what? You're very good in it. You know, it's such a good film. It really is. I mean, you began. Let's put the sort of the feeling of the interview a bit higher now and happier things. You started in musical theatre. You know, do you think that foundation still influences your screen work today?
My screen work, somewhat. I mean, I starting in musical theater kind of gave me that confidence to, whether it be on stage or in front of a camera, and just really perform. And even I would say it influences definitely like my stage life more. I've done a little bit of theater in the last couple of years, and screen acting and acting in theater is just it's so different, but it's so similar in so many ways, you know? So I'd say for sure. I mean, it sparked my love for acting. And if my parents didn't randomly put me into a musical theater class, then I definitely wouldn't be an actor. So I'm forever grateful. It was one of those like random things that they put me in when I was little. So yeah.
Yeah, my girls are in musical theatre, and they're obsessed with Lin-Manuel Miranda. But the question is, what's your favorite musical of all time?
Oh, that's a hard one. I love Wicked. I've always loved Wicked. I also love Les Mis. There's so many. I can't just pick one, but I do.
And okay, you can't pick one, but which one would you love to be in?
You know, it would probably be, because I have a lot of roots on the East Coast of Canada. So it would probably be Anne in Anne of Green Gables. I've always wanted to play Anne.
There we go. Let's manifest it. I mean, Is there any actors or filmmakers who inspire your choices and whose careers that you'd love to emulate?
I've always really loved Natalie Portman. I think she has such a grace on camera that is so beautifully captured. And in any interviews that I watch, she just seems like a person that I want to be friends with, you know, and she's an incredible actress. And yeah, I would definitely say Natalie Portman. Margot Robbie is another person that I really look up to. I actually have a poster of Margot Robbie that I'm staring at right now on my wall. It's a high Barbie poster. But yeah.
Awesome. And, you know, playing strong, complex women seems to be a theme in your career. Is this something you intentionally seek out, you know, with your roles, to play those sort of roles?
For sure. I mean, I love playing complex characters that are challenging and really portraying that emotional depth. And again, it goes back to just doing my best to tell an amusing story and just hoping that the audience takes away something from from the film or from the show. Those are definitely like my favorite characters to play. So I would say like intentionally for sure, that's kind of the route that I see my career going in.
And if you could tell your younger self, back at that Barbie, commercial, one thing about the journey ahead, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Just keep going, because the thing is that in life there's so many like speed bumps and stuff that gets thrown your way, but just know that everything is going to be okay in the end. As cliche as it sounds, it truly is. And there's been so many little things that have happened in the last couple of years in my life that I thought I would not be able to find my way out of, but it just kept going, and now I'm at a place where I feel very like at peace with everything. So I'd say just keep going. Yeah.
And obviously we've got this film to watch from the 4th of October, but is there anything that you can share that you've got also coming up in the future, or is it a case of you can't share yet?
Well, there's a couple of things potentially in the works, but for right now, just kind of auditioning and just waiting to see what happens.
And for fans tuning in, why should they watch Surviving My Father, the Rachel Jeff story, when it premieres?
Like I said, this is a story that's very unique, but it's also a universal story about strength and resilience and overcoming emotional and physical abuse and sexual abuse. And there's so many beautiful messages within the story, and I think that a lot of people will really resonate to the stuff that Rachel has gone through.
Which, you know what, Kaitlyn, a massive thank you for this film, because I think part of being a performer, an actor, is being a storyteller. And doing stories like these can't be easy to do. But as I said at the beginning, it's very, very important that we see these stories. These stories are heard and watched, and we're educated, because there's so many things that, the world, it can be ugly. And I think that we don't see it. And I think that stories like this will help people out there, maybe change lives and everything like that. So thank you so, so much. But before we bid farewell, why can't you park a car? It says you still cannot parallel park a car.
No, I've been working on it. I don't know. I just have a problem with spatial awareness. I'm not sure. I get really freaked out, especially when someone's right behind me and the pressure's on and they're getting impatient. And then I just end up going to like a different spot that's 5 blocks away because it's too much pressure.
But you can get cars now where you just press a button and it does it for you.
Yeah, you know what? I probably need to look into that, because the amount of times that I've gotten into like minor car accidents because of parallel parking it hasn't been good. So,
bless you. But Kaitlyn, I cannot wait to see what you do in the future, and I cannot wait for people to watch this film on the 4th of October on the Lifetime channel. They do some great films, and this is from is it called Ripped from the Headlines series?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Which looks credible. It really, really does. But this film, I've watched it twice, and I thought it was stunning. But Kaitlyn, thank you so much for coming onto the show. Keep safe, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much, Bryan. Have a good one.